When the original Darkness video game was released back in 2007, I fell in love with its deep, intense storyline, its open world-ish gameplay, and its dark gothic visual style.
And that's just how the darkness likes it.
So when I heard about the Darkness 2 and saw that the new developers, Digital Extremes, were completely changing the look and feel of the series, my excitement for the sequel was extinguished and was replaced by a wave of fear which wrapped itself around my chest like a spiky black tentacle, intent on squeezing to death all the love I had for the original game. 15 minutes into playing the Darkness 2, however, all that fear was washed away in rivers of blood as I coolly tossed the driver's side door through an attacking bad guy, slicing him in half, while at the same time gunning down two of his friends before grabbing the last of them by the legs with my demon arms and ripping him from his ball bag to his head and calmly tossing aside his twitching remains for the sewer rats to feed on. You see, The Darkness 2 is a full-on action game. It still has a touching love story at its core, but the whole experience has now been boiled down into a linear gore fest, where chunks of flesh fly through the air with the same frequency as bullets.
Fuck you, Jackie Estacado!
Once again you take control of long-haired crow wannabe Jackie Estacado, who is now the boss of his mob family, and at the start of the game all is well in Jackie's little world of crime and corruption. He's at the top of his game and he has the darkness well and truly locked away and under his control. Suddenly, out of the blue though, he and his family are attacked by a shadowy organisation known as the Brotherhood. This attack causes the darkness to once more be unleashed, and with Jackie's remaining loved ones in peril and the same bittersweet theme of lost love and redemption running throughout the game, it's good to see that the franchise has lost none of its darkness and depth by changing its game style so radically. Combat in this sequel is far more improved than in the first game. Digital Extremes have done away with the sneaky stealth sections of the Darkness 1, where you took control of your Darkness arms and steered them through vents to get the drop on your prey, and have instead implemented an incredibly awesome quad wielding system, which when mastered makes you feel like a total badass. Mapping control of your firearms to your left and right triggers and control over your demon arms to your left and right bumper buttons gives you a flawless control system that creates some thoroughly jaw-dropping moments when you're in the heat of battle. Ripping doors from cars and using your demon arms to hold it as cover while you reload your weapon, or shooting a guy in the legs with a shotgun while impaling two of his friends through the face with a pool cue are just a few examples of the joyous slaughter you will experience as you make your way through the game. The gore factor is ramped up 100% with the executions that Jackie pulls off by using his darkness tentacles to rend and tear at his unfortunate foes. Having their still beating hearts ripped out of their chests is an easy death when compared to some of the really extreme ones you unlock as the game progresses, with Assecution being one of the most memorable. To put it bluntly, the darkness hangs people upside down and rips their spines right out of their asshole. Savage, nauseating, but also darkly humorous. If you're a little bit sick like me. As you progress through the campaign, you build up darkness points. These are gained by killing enemies and eating their hearts. The more extreme your kills, the more points you gather, and you can use these points to upgrade your weapon skills and improve your darkness powers, so you can send swarms of flies to distract enemies or crush them into pools of mush using throwable black holes. It's a very adult game and doesn't shy away from graphic sexual imagery either, with a trip to a shady brothel exposing you to images of sex and a disturbing instant of violence from a male pimp towards a female hooker. There's a lot of titillation here and a lot of comedy sex noises to balance out the heaviness of the situation, and there's a lot of flesh on show.
Follow me, handsome.
Look at that side boob.
Shit.
There, baby.
It all goes towards creating a believable atmosphere and makes the game that much more absorbing when you're exploring these areas in between all the fighting.
Fuck me twice!
The graphics are cel shaded to give maximum comic book effect, and it looks great, but I do kind of miss the gritty look of the first game. There are slight problems with the graphics when it comes to holding objects with your tentacles. If you're holding a guy with one of your darkness arms while someone is giving you a good shoeing from up close, it screws up the perspective. The demon arm holding your victim comes in front of your attacker, and it looks like either you're holding a miniature villain or you're being set upon by a giant. It's nothing serious, but it does screw with your eyesight a bit, and it breaks the immersion of the game. There are plenty of glitches here too, with bodies getting stuck in walls and floors being a regular occurrence. But this really does nothing to interfere with your enjoyment of the game. In fact, it provided me with some pretty big laughs at times. The campaign mode can be cruised through pretty quickly if you're an accomplished FPS player, so thankfully there is a new Game Plus mode which lets you restart the story with all your darkness powers still unlocked. That way you can continue to build your powers until Jackie is a completely tooled up killing machine.
Let's get steaming first, you peely wally!
Vendetta missions are separate to the main game, but they also extend the gameplay of the Darkness 2, and these can be played solo or even better in online co-op with up to 4 people. Instead of taking control of Jackie and his demon arms, there are 4 different characters to control here, assassin types who have their own special darkness powers and weapons. The missions here are short and simple, but each one fills in gaps from the single player campaign and ties the whole story together nicely. With a full house, they are raucous and exciting, and a positive addition to the game as a whole. Again, length is a minor issue. The whole Vendetta storyline can be completed in about 4 hours, but there is replayability if you want to see it through with each character and try out their unique abilities. General aesthetic glitches aside, The Darkness 2 is a highly polished first-person shooter experience. Fans of the comics will love the art style, while fans of the original game will appreciate the fact that the storyline has not been dumbed down to cater to the simpler gameplay. The visceral violence and the highly adult action is totally unashamed and in your face. When you're in full quad-wielding mode and carving your way through the legions of enemies, it's an amazing ride, which sadly is over a little bit too soon for my liking. All in all, I highly recommend The Darkness 2, and I want nothing more than to see The Darkness 3 pop up sometime in the future. So get your ass to the shops as soon as possible and wrap your sweaty little demon arms around a copy.
This isn't real!